Hi everyone, my name's Jordan and welcome back to my channel. Today I wanted to do my December TBR. November has been a decent reading month for how busy I've been. It's definitely less than normal, but still good. So I'm excited for December, last month of the year, to wrap up some big reads before my very ambitious 2023 starts. So let's get into what I want to read in December. First, I want to start the Rainwild Chronicles. The first two books are Dragon Keeper and Dragon Haven. I don't own Dragon Keeper, but I do have Dragon Haven, so that's what I'm holding up. The Rainwild Chronicles is the fourth series in the Realm of the Elderlings. The first one is Farseer, then it's Live Ship, then it's Tawny Man. I just recently finished Tawny Man in November, so more thoughts in my wrap-up, but it was phenomenal and I bawled my eyes out. It was so good. So I'm very excited to start Rainwild Chronicles, even though I've heard some kind of mixed reviews on them. I am still so excited just to get back into this world and this lore. I'm hoping, what with there being dragons in like every title and on the covers, that there's going to be a lot of dragons, because the dragons are amazing and so unique from dragons in other stories. So I'm very excited to get into the Rainwild Chronicles. So more thoughts on the Tawny Man in my November wrap up, because I read the last two in November, I believe. So gonna get to these in December, hopefully. Next up, I have The Atlas Paradox by Olivia Blake. This just came out and I haven't gotten to it yet. I'm very excited to read it. It is the sequel to The Atlas 6, which is one of those hugely hyped TikTok books that people either love or hate. I really enjoyed it. I think the characters are fun. The magic system, while very little explanation is given, I found it very fun. So excited for this. I've heard some mixed reviews on this book, but I'm still very excited to read it, just to get back with these characters and see what happens after that large twist at the end of the Atlas 6. So I am very excited to read this. Next up, I have Ocean's Echo by Everina Maxwell. This is the same author that wrote Winter's Orbit, which I really enjoyed. It's kind of like a sci-fi romance story, and I believe that this is going to be along the same vein. I know literally next to nothing besides that, and I'm keeping it that way. I think I'm going to love this book because I really enjoyed Winter's Orbit. It had just enough sci-fi to make it like super sciencey and cool, while also having a really heartfelt romance that was touching, and I think that she's going to be able to pull it off again here. I haven't seen a whole lot of people talking about this book yet, so I'm going in really clear-headed. I don't know if people are loving it or hating it. I don't really know what it's about, and so I'm hoping I go in with a clear mind and can have a completely unbiased opinion. So very excited to read this book. Next up, I have kind of a chonker that I'm hoping I can get to, and that is The Wall of Storms by Kin Liu. My January is it's looking like it's going to be a huge month, full of big books. So I want to try to continue with the Dandelion Dynasty to kind of like get my hype back in it, so that I will continue it in 2023, if that makes sense. The Grace of Kings I thought was good, but not amazing. I didn't absolutely love it. But I've heard the Wall of Storms is where things kind of pop off. So I want to get this read in December so that I don't just keep putting it off in 2023 as my months get very busy. So I'm hoping I will get to read this in December to get my hype going for the Dandelion Dynasty so I can finish it in early 2023. This is a series that is based on Chinese history. I don't know a lot about the history it's based on. The first book was very it read like a history book almost. I didn't really feel much connection with many of the characters. The plot was cool. There's not really a lot of magic in it. It's described as silk punk. It's kind of got like a lot of inventions and engineering and stuff, which I found really compelling and cool. I need more character development in a series. I'm a pretty character-driven reader, so I'm hoping. Everyone says that everything goes wild in this book, and that, especially the second half of this book, that it is very, very fun. So I'm hoping that this book really draws me into the series and I can kind of get on that hype train that everyone else seems to be on. Next up, I have The Lost Metal by Brandon Sanderson. This is the fourth book in the Mistborn Era 2 series. Mistborn, if you haven't heard of it, which I'm sure you have, a series by Brandon Sanderson that deals with ingesting metals, and each metal gives you a different kind of like magical power, but only certain metals work for certain people, and people that can manipulate all metals are known as Mistborns. So Mistborn Era 1 is about what if like the Dark Lord won, and it's kind of like that world that everyone's living in, and there's a rebellion and all of that, and it is very good. There's 3 books. And then Era 2 is like a bajillion years down the line. I don't actually know the time jump, but it is quite a big time jump down the line. And this is more like it almost feels like more of like a detective-y kind of story. And there's like trains, and it's like more in the future, more industrialized. And you have a whole new host of characters, but it's the same magic system. So The Lost Metal is the 4th and final book in Era 2, and I've heard it is amazing, and I've heard that there are some really, really good Cosmere tie-ins, and I'm so excited to read it. Also very nervous, just because I always get nervous when everyone says something's really good, and I also get nervous when everyone says that there's a lot of tie-ins to the Cosmere, because I always get nervous that I'm gonna miss them. So here's hoping I pick up on them. From what I've heard, they're pretty apparent, like they're overt references. So I'm excited, and gonna get to that in December for sure. Next up, I have Proven Guilty by Jim Butcher. This is book 8 in the Dresden Files. I believe it's book 8. I am reading Deadbeat right now. I'm almost done with it. I'm actually gonna finish it after I film these videos. And it is the first Dresden book that I am actually very much enjoying. I still wouldn't say it's like a 5-star read for me or anything, but I have wanted to keep reading it, which is the first time that's happened in a Dresden book. So I am going to try to continue on in December. I'm going to read the next one. I have found that reading it physically is helping more than reading the audiobook. I agree the audiobooks are great. I just don't really like Harry. So when I'm listening to the audiobooks, the characterization of Harry, he just feels more real and annoying. When I'm reading it physically, I can kind of like dictate in my head how annoying he is. I don't know if this is making any sense, but I'm able to control how annoying Harry is to me when I'm reading physically as opposed to listening to the audiobook. So I'm going to try continuing on by reading them physically from here on out. We'll see how it goes. Dresden Files are a series about a wizard who helps the police catch bad guys, basically. And I've heard that the universe just gets more and more expansive as the books go on, and it becomes more of like an epic fantasy story later on. But it starts out pretty small. He's a man in Chicago who is a wizard who helps catch vampires and werewolves and things like that. So it's like a paranormal detective noir kind of story. And normally those books don't work for me. And it was true in the beginning. I read book 1 and didn't like it and was saying I was not going to read anymore. And then everyone convinced me I should continue. My friend Kyle over on Read by Kyle convinced me to skip 2, 3, and 4, read 5, skip 6, read 7. And 7 is Deadbeat. So I'm reading 7 right now. And then I'm going to continue on and read the rest from there. And I think this was a good plan because I am actually liking 7. So I'm skipping the ones that would have made me decide to DNF the series. That's where we're at. Next up, I'm reading Albions Gate by James S.A. Corey. This is the 3rd book in the Expanse series. I believe it's the 3rd book, 3rd or 4th, but I'm pretty sure it's the 3rd. This is a space opera, expansive political story that I am enjoying, but I'm not like obsessed with. It's kind of like, I'm kind of on the fence about it. I do think that the second one, listening to the audiobook, helped me a lot, but one of the big things I didn't like about the first book, I believe will be back in the 3rd book, so we'll see how it goes. We'll see. And if you have heard me talk about this series at all, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. This series, I think, I get the appeal and I get why people like it, I'm just not sure if it is for me. So we're gonna see how I like it if I continue on with the audiobooks. I think they are fun. We'll leave it at that. Last but not least, I have Wrath by John Gwynne. This is the 4th and final book in the Faithful and the Fallen series. This is a series that I've been reading over the past few months. I've been reading 1 a month, and I am enjoying it. It is entertaining, but it is not becoming a favorite. I have heard So many people say that this is like one of their favorite series of all times and that they love it from beginning to end. And I'm just not feeling that. I do think it's fun and I like the characters and I think the plot is really well done. I've just found that there's some pacing issues and ultimately I'm just not having it click as much as some other people are. It's kind of hard to like put into words what is not working for me because I do find it entertaining. It's just not like, I'm not constantly wanting to be reading this. Like I'm not thinking about it much. I read it and I enjoy it and then I put it down and I'm done. So I'm going to wrap this up in December to have the series be done and to be ready to move on to new things in 2023. I'm excited to read this. I'm not expecting this to become a top series of all time for me, just because I've heard that Ruin is a lot of people's favorites. And while I did like Ruin, if Wrath is going to be at the same level as Ruin or even potentially lower, I just don't see it becoming a favorite. But again, this is not a bad series. I'm very much enjoying where it's going. I like the characters. Something's not clicking for me. But overall, still a very fun series to read. And that is all the books I'm going to try to read in December. I'm sure I will add on more as I check out audiobooks from the library, and some of these might change anyway. We'll see where we are. So that is all the books I want to read in December. It's kind of an ambitious ask, but I'm hoping I can get to all of it. I don't really have many big plans in December yet. I might be visiting some family later in the month, but for now, it is a pretty slow month, I believe. So I'm hoping to get a bunch of reading done because November was kind of light, what with all my traveling and everything, and I got COVID, hooray. Actually, COVID helped me read. I read more because of it, but traveling kind of took some reading out of me. So hoping to read more in December, kind of get ready for 2023. Look forward to a bunch of videos coming out soon about what I'm going to be reading in 2023, some of my big plans I have coming up. And yeah, there's going to be a lot of that coming up. And then in January, there's going to be a lot of wrap-up videos of 2022 and best of and worst of and what have you. So just gonna be a lot of fun videos coming out in the next 2 months. It's always my favorite time of year on BookTube. I love watching people's year-end wrap-ups. I love seeing people's favorite books. I just love it. It's a lot of fun. Hoping I will wrap up this year strong and have a bunch of new favorite reads in December. Thank you guys for watching. If you could please like, comment, and subscribe and let me know down below what you are hoping to read in December to round out your 2022. If you really like my content, please hit the notification bell to be notified every time I post new videos. As always, your support means the world to me, and until next time, thank you guys.